What if the last thing keeping you fed turns against you across America? Even the biggest fast food restaurants that we counted on for generations are facing the risk of collapsing now, because the farms that once fed them have vanished. Over 40,000 U.S. farms have shut down since 2021, according to the USDA, due to skyrocketing fuel prices, foreign trade pressure, and rising fertilizer costs. That leads to prices for beef, wheat, and dairy have exploded. In response, brands like McDonald's, Wendy's, and KFC have quietly closed hundreds of locations, or have been forced to replace with unsafe ingredients. And these low-quality meals are sold directly to us. When a $5 meal becomes a 15,000 USA bill due to food poisoning, how can people cope with it? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today we will reveal 30 fast food chains that are struggling to stay in business as U.S. biggest farm collapse. Before we begin, let's wonder, if the land can't grow and the chains can't serve, what's your prediction of the future waiting for us now? Number 1, McDonald's. One day soon, the most familiar stores in your place, where kids got Happy Meals and people grabbed a quick meal, will suddenly vanish overnight, because America no longer has enough farms to supply its golden arches, and it's already happening, faster than most are prepared to admit. That sounds surprising, because McDonald's was once the heartbeat of American fast food, and we all thought it would be undefeated forever. In its golden age, McDonald's operated over 13,000 locations across the country, from coastal cities to forgotten rural towns. There was always one within reach. For many low-income families, a $5 combo meal from McDonald's was the only dependable bite they could afford. But now, these families found themselves in trouble with no replacements that didn't hurt their wallet. According to Statista, more than 500 McDonald's locations have closed between 2020 and early 2025, especially in areas like Illinois, Michigan, and rural California. That's awful because these places were once strongholds of agriculture and working-class routine. QSR Magazine reports a 16% decline in rural foot traffic as farms shutter and communities shrink. And behind the closures lies a deeper fracture. America's farm is collapsing. Since 2021, over 40,000 U.S. farms have filed for bankruptcy, driven by fertilizer prices doubling, fuel costs surging, and foreign imports undercutting local produce, without local beef, potatoes, and wheat. McDonald's pivoted to cheaper overseas ingredients, sacrificing freshness for survival. In early 2025, health departments in Ohio and Florida linked several foodborne illness outbreaks to McDonald's locations using imported meat and fries. The CDC confirms nearly 2,000 hospitalization cases just in the first quarter, many tied to fast food chains. Numbers on the papers, but the one who felt that blow the hardest are working Americans. For example, retirees, truckers, warehouse workers. What used to be a hot meal now carries the risk of a $15,000 ER visit. And in this sad reality about an America that seems so different now, many hearts ache remembering the good old days. Some viewers recall pulling up to a McDonald's drive-thru after night shifts, just to grab 5 minutes of comfort. Now, welcoming them are just dark storefronts and confusion about the unknown future. But perhaps there's still positive things remaining. With fast food options shrinking and prices soaring, homemade meals are up 21%. And emergency rooms in several counties are seeing a slow decline in obesity-related admissions when the system abandons you. Sometimes the healthiest answer is to return to your own backyard. Maybe the end of the golden arches signals the quiet rebirth of a healthier America. Still, it doesn't erase the pain of what's been lost. McDonald's was part of the American memory, and when even giants fall, what else is quietly giving way beneath our feet? And if McDonald's, armed with billions and generations of trust, can't weather the storm, then what chance does Burger King have? Let's find out. Number 2, Burger King. Do you remember the last time you had a Whopper? Maybe it was a quick lunch between shifts, a drive-through meal on the way back from a long trip, or something warm and cheap when the paycheck barely stretched. But the bad news is that Whopper, the sandwich once sold as a symbol of Americans' choice and pride, is quietly disappearing from hundreds of towns across the country. Burger King was known as a backup to McDonald's, the flame-grilled alternative, the place where the beef tasted real and the prices didn't make you suffocated. In the late 1990s, the chain boasted over 12,000 global locations, with thousands across the U.S., especially in farming and working-class states like Missouri, Texas, and Minnesota. But by early 2025, many cannot enjoy it anymore. According to Restaurant Business Online, more than 460 U.S. Burger King restaurants have permanently closed over the past 2 years. Burger King is still facing the largest wave of closures in 2 decades. The pain has hit hardest in small agricultural states, where these restaurants weren't just fast food stops but a part of the town itself. The reason is the same as McDonald's, which is a brutal collapse in America's domestic ingredient supply. Farmers can no longer produce at scale or price, and without reliable access to beef, lettuce, or wheat. Burger King has been forced to import from Argentina and Brazil. These ingredients come cheap, but at a cost that affects the consumers the hardest. Customers across Reddit and TikTok have posted videos of spoiled meat, soggy lettuce, and moldy buns. Consumer trust is evaporating. CDC data shows that in March 2025 alone, 3 separate food poisoning outbreaks were traced to imported beef used by Burger King. Once the safest cheap meal in town, now even the Whopper feels like a gamble. It's clearly not a safe choice anymore. But when a Burger King shuts down, it takes more than 20 jobs with it. And the hard workers there do nothing wrong, since they are already facing a struggle to keep their family fed. And for people with tight budgets, it might stress them out. According to the American Economic Review, over 500 affordable meals disappear per store each day. That's 500 fewer chances for low-income people to eat without worry. But let's look to the brighter side. As fast food breaks down, something healthier might begin to grow. Reports from the National Health Foundation in April 2025 show a 13% increase in home gardening and a 10% drop in sugary meal consumption in affected regions. It gives us the chance to rebuild something better. What's your take? Do you think that we could make America healthy again still? Losing Whopper felt uneasy, because once it was a rescue in a chaotic world. And now, with even that gone, the silence it leaves behind feels more dangerous than economic falldown. Let's turn to Wendy's, a brand built on square patties and small-town trust, now facing the same fates. Number 3, Wendy's. If you've ever ended a long shift with a hot and crispy fries for under $3, you're not alone. For many, Wendy's was the rescue where the working class grabbed a hot meal without having to swipe deeper into debt. But now, that place of refuge is disappearing quietly, store by store. Wendy's once felt different. The food was fresher, the salads were real, and the portions weren't dripping in grease. Parents trusted it for their kids' lunches when organic was out of reach. Truckers and shift workers found it quick, affordable, and honest, at its peak. Wendy's operated over 6,000 U.S. locations, but between mid-2024 and early 2025, over 218 restaurants shuttered without warning, as confirmed by SEC disclosures from parent company Inspire Brands. From its birthplace in Ohio to hardworking cities like Kansas City, the closed until further notice signs are stacking up. In February 2025 alone, Wendy's saw a 28% drop in rural sales due to supply breakdowns and inflation, according to Restaurant Dive. But beyond logistics lies a painful truth. This brand's biggest strength became its biggest liability. Unlike competitors like Popeyes, Wendy's stuck to U.S. suppliers for beef, potatoes, and lettuce. That loyalty is worth compliments. But even choosing a different way from McDonald's and Burger King, Wendy's still couldn't avoid the tragedy. The USDA reports lettuce prices skyrocketed nearly 400% in drought-hit regions between 2023 and 2025. Major supplier farms in Idaho and California declared total crop failures in 2024, refusing to switch to frozen or imported ingredients. Wendy's stores ran out of fresh product, and it showed. Customer backlash flooded TikTok and Yelp with soggy fries, dry chicken, and limp salads. But what haunts is the fact that it's totally predicted. In early 2024, a leaked internal memo revealed senior leadership had ignored warnings about agricultural shortages for over a year, choosing to protect short-term earnings over supply adaptation. And the damage isn't abstract. In towns like Paducah, Kentucky, or Flint, Michigan, not a single Wendy's remains open. For seniors who can't cook, students without kitchens, and low-income families, a once dependable lunch option is gone. These closures are ruptures in daily life. According to a health finance survey, rising food insecurity combined with risky fast food has contributed to hospital bills between $12,000 and $16,000 per incident, pushing a quarter of retirees into long-term medical debt. When fresh becomes a luxury, what's left for those who have no safety net? Wendy's used to stand for a promise of better ingredients, a taste of American pride. But now, with fields dead and shelves bare, that promise fades. Keep watching to see how Taco Bell copes with this struggle. Number 4. Taco Bell. Once the go-to stop after late-night shifts or long highway drives, Taco Bell was that rare place where a few wrinkled bills could still fill your stomach. But in 2025, this staple of affordability is disappearing from the very communities that needed it most. Customers are still rooted for it, but the land that once fed its food is failing. In the 1990s and 2000s, Taco Bell was synonymous with the $5 combo, cheesy burritos, crunchy tacos, and spicy quesadillas that kept families going when the fridge was bare. It wasn't fancy, but it was enough. However, according to Business Insider, Taco Bell has shuttered over 267 locations since 2024, retreating especially from rural and suburban America. Sales in major agricultural zones have plummeted by 33%, as reported by Restaurant Business, largely due to ingredient scarcity. Corn, beans, and wheat, which are Taco Bell's cornerstones, are no longer reliably grown in the US. Farms in Kansas and Iowa, and that's kind of sad because these places, which were once proud suppliers, are now abandoned fields. Cornmeal prices have quadrupled in under 3 years. To stay afloat, Taco Bell switched to frozen beans from Mexico and discounted beef from South America, which means sources with inconsistent safety and quality, some not fully USDA approved. But broken supply chains aren't the only reason for collapse. In 2023, Taco Bell faced public backlash after featuring rapper Doja Cat in a national campaign, accused of previous offensive comments toward Jewish and LGBTQ communities. The ad choice triggered the viral hashtag #BoycottTacoBell and tens of thousands of critical posts across Reddit and TikTok. Many loyal customers felt betrayed, saying the brand had sold its soul for attention rather than respecting the people who built it. The price tells another story. Today, the once famous $5 combo now costs $7. 49 and customers are noticing smaller portions, watery cheese, and meat that smells off. This erosion hits hard in the quietest corners. Many people now face a cruel choice: cheap food with questionable safety, or no food at all. CDC reports a 17% spike in gastrointestinal hospitalizations in low-income regions tied to poor food quality. And when each Taco Bell closure eliminates 20 to 30 part-time jobs, it leaves behind workers, many without degrees or alternatives, with no safety net. Taco Bell used to be joy-wrapped in paper. Now it's a reminder of what happens when even fast food stops being reliable. In a nation where soil can no longer sustain food chains, what's left to rely on? Number 5. KFC. That smell, crispy chicken sizzling in reused oil, seeping from a red and white bucket, used to mean weekend joy for Southern families. KFC wasn't just food, it was tradition, gathering, and memory. But in 2025, that scent is vanishing, and the farms that once raised America's chickens are vanishing with it. KFC has closed more than 380 locations since late 2023, hitting Mississippi, Alabama, and Kentucky hardest. These weren't just stores, they were anchors in working-class communities. Restaurant Dive reports that 40% of KFC's poultry suppliers in Arkansas and Georgia went bankrupt after feed costs doubled. To keep profits up, KFC hiked its 8-piece bucket from $12.99 to $22.49. Meanwhile, TikTok and YouTube users complain about soggy skin, bland meat, and rancid oil. One viral video shows spoiled wings pulled apart by hand at an Oklahoma location, garnering over 4 million views. Worse, in 2023, Yum! Brand CEO David Gibbs sparked outrage by stating, "We can't depend on dying American farms." KFC now imports frozen chicken from China and Brazil, betraying its southern roots. Competitor Chick-fil-A, still using 100% US chicken, holds the moral high ground. As trust collapses, so does livelihood. In Jackson, Mississippi, one KFC closure erased 22 jobs, no replacements, no safety net. Number 6. Hardee's. For early risers, truckers, farmers, Mechanics, Hardee's was the first warm hello sausage biscuits. Hot coffee, no small talk needed. But from 2022 to 2025, over 312 locations of Hardee's and Carl's Jr. have shuttered, mainly in rural Missouri, Alabama, and West Virginia. These were communities built on agriculture, where every dollar mattered. Once proud of its American pork sausage, Hardee's now substitutes frozen imported blends after a 45% rise in meat costs. Breakfast combos jumped from $4.99 to $7.89 with thinner sausage and watery eggs. Coffee. Many now call it brown liquid with no soul. Compared to Waffle House still sourcing locally, Hardee's feels hollow. The collapse isn't just about supply chains. A 2023 ad showing a bikini model eating a burger on a tractor sparked fury. Farmers, many losing land, saw it as mockery, not marketing. The hashtag #HashDropHardee's trended with over 36,000 shares. And when breakfast disappears, so does a daily rhythm. Feeding America reports a 12% rise in skipped breakfasts in states hit hardest. For the working poor, it's not just losing a meal, it's losing momentum. When sausage biscuits become a luxury, what's left to start the day? The silence of a closed Hardee's speaks louder than any alarm clock. Number 7. Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box once thrived on late-night chaos tacos cheaper than bottled water, burgers at 3 a.m., and a menu that laughed at convention. But now, chaos has caught up. Since 2023, over 148 locations have closed across California, Arizona, and Nevada. Sales in the Southwest dropped 37% in Q1 2025 per NASDAQ filings. What used to be $1.99 for 2 tacos and soda now costs $4.49. And customers are posting viral videos showing empty tacos and meat blend that's more air than substance. After 23,000 farms collapsed across California and Arizona, Jack switched to imported fillings with vague labels and no USDA guarantee. In 2023, a mass E. coli outbreak in Oregon hospitalized over 120 people, instead of accountability. CEO Darren Harris blamed overly sensitive customers, igniting mass boycotts online. Why I'll never eat Jack again. Videos dominate Reddit and YouTube. Jack's late-night fun is now seen as dangerous. Community health clinics in San Diego report a 9% rise in foodborne illness, mostly among low-income night workers. Jack's downfall isn't loud, it's slow, quiet, and painful. When the cheapest midnight meal becomes a health gamble, what joy is left in the dark? Number 8. White Castle. White Castle. Born in 1921 was the place where factory workers grabbed hot sliders after long shifts. But as U.S. beef production collapses, even this century-old symbol is fading. According to Franchise Times and Columbus Business Journal, over 75 locations have closed since 2023, especially in Ohio, Michigan, and Illinois. Costs for hay, veterinary care, and fuel doubled from 2021 to 2024 USDA, forcing closures of local cattle farms that exclusively supplied White Castle, rather than raise prices. The chain-cut meat quality sliders dropped from 2 ounces to 1.3 ounces, now made with frozen filler blends. A 10-pack once $6.99 is now $11.49. In 2023, CEO Lisa Ingram launched AI automation, replacing cooks with robots in 36 stores. Nearly 400 workers were laid off, fueling backlash on Reddit and YouTube. Viral videos show broken machines and botched orders, with comments declaring, "White Castle isn't for people anymore." Rural closures increased food insecurity by nearly 8%, says Feeding America. Seniors in the Midwest, once loyal, now face freezer aisle substitutes at Walmart. White Castle once sold tradition and trust. But if America no longer protects even its oldest fast food chain, what part of our past is safe? Number 9. Arby's. We have the meats once meant hearty, real sandwiches, but as local meat vanished, Arby's slogan became hollow. Since 2020, the chain has closed over 163 stores, especially in agricultural states like Iowa, Indiana, and Missouri, facing rising costs. Arby's cut meat portions by 25%, according to Food Institute menu analysis. Classic roast beef combos rose from $5.99 to $9.29. YouTube users report gelatin-like meat, and viral clips from Ohio show sandwiches with barely any filling. Inspire Brands, Arby's parent company, spent billions acquiring Dunkin' and Sonic, while neglecting Arby's logistics. In 2024, Arby's marketing chief was exposed for anti-immigrant blog posts, prompting the #Arby'sOut boycott starting in Texas and spreading fast. Arby's used to serve working-class men truckers, factory workers, police. But now, its sandwiches cost more than Subway's and offer less. Sales in rural areas have dropped 31%. The betrayal isn't just in the meat, it's in the silence. Customers feel abandoned, not just hungry, when even a cold-cut sandwich no longer feels honest. What's left to believe in? Number 10. Denny's. There was a time when Denny's wasn't just breakfast, it was a shelter, a booth for the retired, the lonely, or truckers on their fifth hour behind the wheel. But in 2025, this warm corner of American life is fading. Over 216 Denny's locations have closed, especially in rural areas across the South and West. The price of eggs rose by over 260% from 2021 to 2024 due to bird flu and the collapse of egg farms. Sausage, bacon, and hash brown prices followed. The Grand Slam meal once cost $6.99, now $12.89 with frozen bacon and watery eggs. Amid the crisis, Denny's CEO accepted over $8 million in bonuses while cutting employee hours and closing rural outlets. The backlash was swift. Hashtags like #BoycottDenny's trended among veterans, seniors, and night shift workers sharing photos of overpriced, undercooked food. For those without kitchens, elderly on fixed incomes, truckers, isolated workers, Denny's was more than a meal. It was a public living room. Now, that too is gone. Feeding America reports an 11% rise in single meal per day households where Denny's vanished. If even the most welcoming 24-hour table in America can disappear, what's left for those who made this country run? Number 11, Sonic Drive-In. You used to pull up, honk, and get hot food right at your car window. Sonic Drive-In was the roadside diner of forgotten towns, but from 2022 to 2025, over 189 locations shut down, leaving behind silent parking lots in Arkansas, Mississippi, and Oklahoma. A slush that cost $1.49 now goes for $3.79. Combo meals doubled in price while shrinking in size, due to Texas farm failures from floods and droughts. Even fresh onions disappeared. Customers now describe the food as bland and factory-like. Sonic cut healthcare for part-time workers in 2023, reported Business Insider. One Alabama location was accused of racial discrimination and denying free meals to night staff. These led to the rise of #BoycottSonic across southern states. For delivery drivers, single moms, and students, Sonic was affordable comfort. Now, it's unaffordable and untrustworthy. According to the American Food Insecurity Index, over 30% in affected states report no nearby place to eat. A roadside meal, a familiar face on wheels, a childhood slush when even that vanishes. Convenience becomes a cruel memory. Number 12, Subway. Subway used to promise fresh, healthy lunch on your own terms, customized, affordable, and safe. But in 2025, nothing about it feels fresh anymore, as America's farms collapse. Even the lettuce and tomatoes in Subway sandwiches are now imported or lab-grown, and consumers are noticing the difference. Once the largest fast food chain in the country, with over 27,000 stores in 2015, Subway has now shuttered more than 4,600 locations, especially across farming states like Iowa and Kansas. Franchise revenue is down over 30% in some regions due to price hikes, inconsistent supply, and loss of trust. A 6-inch sandwich now costs $8.59, up from $4.99. Yet portions are smaller and quality has sharply declined. Lawsuits from franchisees, combined with scandals involving synthetic bread ingredients and supply chain manipulation, have turned Subway into a cautionary tale. For many lower-income Americans, it was once the only clean option. But now, even that has crumbled. In neighborhoods where Subway has vanished, reports of lunch skipping have risen. The Eat Fresh motto has become a bitter joke. If even America's so-called healthy sandwich shop is failing, what chance do the truly cheap chains have left? Number 13, Little Caesars. Once known as the cheapest way to feed a family, Little Caesars' $5 hot and ready pizzas were a staple in struggling neighborhoods. But in 2025, those orange boxes come with a bitter cost. The price has surged to $7.79 while cheese is thinner, sauce watered down, and crust reportedly made with imported flour after domestic suppliers collapsed. More than 180 locations have closed, mainly in rural and inner-city areas. Dairy costs from Wisconsin and California exploded after farm shutdowns, forcing the chain to replace real cheese with artificial blends. In 2023, federal investigations exposed internal corruption, including falsified ingredient costs to claim government subsidies. Employees in rural franchises lost benefits as corporate leaders pocketed bonuses. For many poor families, this was the last emergency dinner they could afford. But with rising food poisoning reports, over 200 cases of intestinal illness linked to reheated pizzas, Little Caesars is no longer safe, where this chain disappears. So do the last traces of affordable, hot food. If even the cheapest pizza is now dangerous or gone, it raises a haunting question. What do America's forgotten towns have left to eat? Number 14, Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. That slogan once earned Papa John's the loyalty of middle-class Americans across the country. Thick cheese, bold garlic sauce, and the feeling that you were getting something better at a fair price. But in 2025, that promise feels empty. Over 137 U.S. locations have closed, with deep pullouts in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Virginia. Combo meals that cost $11.99 now sell for $18.49 despite reports of watered-down sauce, fake-smelling meats, and cheese cut with cheap fillers. The collapse of dairy and wheat farms in the Midwest forced Papa John's to import ingredients. But the brand's damage runs deeper. Years of controversy surrounding founder John Schnatter, including a racial slur scandal and a 2023 lawsuit spree, shattered public trust. Reddit threads now mock the brand as a shadow of itself. For many families, this was once a premium night-in meal. Now it feels like betrayal. In towns where Papa John's shut down, reported food exhaustion has risen by 8%. Their promise of better collapsed with the land it relied on. And if a high-end chain can't stay honest or consistent, how will its cheaper rivals survive? Number 15, Domino's. Domino's once meant speed, value, and innovation. Pizza in 30 minutes wasn't just a promise, it was a miracle in working-class homes. But in 2025, fast no longer means safe. Over 165 stores have shuttered, especially in rural states like Kansas and Idaho. Ingredient shortages triggered by farm collapses forced Domino's to import flour, tomatoes, and cheese from overseas. A medium pizza now costs $13.49, up from $7.99, with customers documenting undercooked dough, missing toppings, and cardboard-like crusts. But worse, the company replaced thousands of workers with robots and AI ovens, an investment over $700 million. When a delivery robot spilled pizza onto a busy Nebraska road, the internet erupted, launching the #DominoDrop backlash. Families now fear choosing convenience over health. The CDC has tracked 5 E. coli outbreaks linked to Domino's reheated frozen ingredients. For students, single parents, and night shift workers, Domino's was the backup dinner. Now it's a gamble. In a country where fast food is sometimes the only food, this failure is more than corporate, it's human. When the farms fall, the food follows. What used to be a $5 meal is now a dangerous gamble. For millions of working Americans, fast food wasn't luxury, it was survival. But now, even that is disappearing. The collapse of agriculture isn't just a rural crisis. It's on every tray, in every town, across every paycheck. And if we can no longer trust what feeds us, what else are we expected to hold on to?